Nana Shastra Vichanek Nipano Sahadharma Samsapakam Lokanam Hitakarino Tribhuvane Mahanyo Sharanyakaro Radha Krishna Padaravindra Bhajana Nandena Mattalikayo Vande Rupa Sanatano Raghujugo Shri Jiva Gopalako Vande Rupa Sanatano Raghujugo Shri Jiva Gopalako. We're going to begin our discussion from Preface. But before we begin with the preface, a little background. So for some of you, this will be the third book of your Bhakti Shastri course. So there are 4 books in Bhakti Shastri: Ishopanishad, Bhagavad Gita, then Nectar of Instruction, Upadeshamrit, and then Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, or Nectar of Devotion. If you just try to look around these books, then we'll see that. So if you see among the 4 books, Ishopanishad is something what we call as Shruti Shastra Upanishad, which is widely accepted, not widely accepted, is entirely accepted across all the Vedic school students or the students of Vedic studies. After that, this is Ishopanishad, that is Shruti Shastra. Then we have Bhagavad Gita, which is also widely accepted, but it is somewhat, for some, they consider it to be part of Smriti Shastra because it is found in Mahabharata. So Ishopanishad, the 4 books that Prabhupada chose for us, Ishopanishad is entirely accepted, Bhagavad Gita is also largely accepted. Just is a difference between Shruti and Smriti Shastra. Then the last 2 books that we have, one is Upadeshamrita, which are the general instructions for one's practice in spiritual life. At least the first part of Upadeshamrita, let's say up to verse number 6 or 7. However, the last few verses are particularly specific for the Gaudiya school of students. However, when Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, the book which we are starting to discuss now from today onwards, is extremely exclusive for Brahma Madhava Gaudiya Parampara and for his students. Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Upadeshamrita are the books called of and the subset of Bhakti Shastra, which were written by the Acharyas of Bhakti movement. Now, if you see this Brahma Madhava Gaudiya Parampara, why are we called Gaudiya? Just yesterday we got good from Bengal. If in case you have been to Mayapur sweets are very delicious. And one of the reasons why Mayapur sweets are very delicious because they're not made in simple sugar. They all are prepared in gur. Gur means sweet. And from that gur comes Gaudiya. Our parampara means sweetness. And today we're going to start with a book titled as Bhakti Rasa Amrita Sindhu, which is an ocean of nectar. Rasa, नींबू रस, आम रस, करेला रस, अनेक प्रकार के रस होते हैं. So we have something what Srila Rupa Goswami introduces the subject matter of Bhakti Ras. So we'll take a look at it, what we have in this book like this. I may or may not necessarily go and discuss much about Srila Rupa Goswami because in Upadeshamrita, we spoke about Srila Rupa Goswami and we introduced him. We introduced why we call as Rupanugas and the connection between Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Rupa Goswami and connection between Rupa Goswami and Srila Prabhupada. We discussed all of that. So we may not necessarily go, but let's just a little bit take a look at this Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. So this is one of the complex subject matter. This book has around 2,129 shlokas. What you find in just few hundred pages is what is called as summary study. Srila Prabhupada wrote 2 books of summary studies. One is Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu that you all have in your hand, and other is Krishna book. So His Holiness Saswat Maharaj mentions in one of his writings, once he asked Srila Prabhupada ji, what does he mean by summary study? And Prabhupada said, summary study means I get to write what I would wish to write. It's my wish, whatever I want to put into it. Not exactly like that. The idea is with summary study, you don't have to necessarily follow through the sequence of verses. Just like if you look at scholarly presentation by Srila Prabhupada in terms of Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, Chaitanya Charitamrita, and others, if you will notice there, is verse by verse. There is word to word meaning. There is a translation. There is a purpose. But however, when you pick up Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, it is little, just like Krishna book. Why did Prabhupada wrote Krishna book? It's just after 1968, Prabhupada felt, I had a recent heart attack. We have started something. I have encouraged people to worship Krishna, but if they don't know about Krishna, what would they worship? And I don't know for how long I would last. So Prabhupada stopped whatever he was writing, and he took the summary study. He wrote a book titled as Krishna book, which was a summary study of the 10th canto Srimad Bhagavatam. Like that, later on, Srila Prabhupada wanted to present Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Srila Prabhupada called it one of the most important books. So important, in fact, Prabhupada said this is the law book of ISKCON. Law book for Gaudiya Vaishnava, because it tells us what is bhakti, what is not bhakti, what is the process of bhakti, and what is not process of bhakti. It helps us distinguish between the authorized process and the path that our acharyas have given to us, because it is always anukulyena, otherwise anusmaran, like that. It is always has to be practiced under the predecessor acharya to help us protect from sahajya ideas and many other things like that Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. So Srila Prabhupada, if in case he would have lived longer, he would have decided to stay longer on this planet, he would have definitely given us verse by verse. But unfortunately, Srila Prabhupada couldn't. But at least till the time Prabhupada was here, he definitely gave many other books like this. But if you look at this book, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, I'm giving spending a little time about before we get into this, because it ain't easy. It is one of the most complex philosophical presentation. Along with, it discusses about a very unique subject, what is called as Bhakti Rasa. Rasa means Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, and his English commentary translates Rasa as mellow. There is no equivalent word for Rasa. His Honor Tamal Krishna Goswami Maharaj writes at one place, at times Srila Prabhupada, at one point in time I asked Srila Prabhupada, what have you been thinking? I'm observing you for the last few days. You're too much absorbed into thinking about something. And then Prabhupada would say, oh, I've been thinking about this particular Sanskrit word. How can I translate it in English? Although sometimes it will take days together for Prabhupada really to figure it out, because that word just does not exist in English. And one such word is rasa. Rasa, in other words, we'll look at it when Prabhupada defines it. So Srila Prabhupada, while writing this summary study, if you take a look at it with the summary study, presenting a complex idea, anyone who has an experience of writing, Mother Chintamani just recently wrote a blog article, so I don't know how much time she took. But in case if you have to do, let's say, a translation, you have to give a commentary on certain book which is authorized, which is read by all the Gaudiya Vaishnavas, and you are the founder acharya of particular organization that way, how much alert you have to be to the details. And what would you prefer? Generally, people would prefer, in the scholarly world, they would prefer to find a secluded place where they have access to their library, where they can refer, research, and then write. None of these privileges were available to Srila Prabhupada. He was on the road every day. And most of the time, he woke up after midnight to write. And he wrote until early in the morning. And yet, Prabhupada was able to present us an incredible summary of Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. As I said, this is almost 3 times the size of Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita has 700 verses. This has almost 2100 verses. So it's a vast book, but as a part of our Bhakti Shastra syllabus, we will be discussing only the first 19 chapters. So this book, please go to the table of content. We'll begin from there, just to get a little familiar. So the contents that you're seeing here are himself described by Srila Rupa Goswami. I believe from 7th verse onward, we'll come to that. So this Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu book has been divided into 4 segments or 4 sections. Maybe before I come to table of content, let me just tell you what is this means. Bhakti Rasa Amrita Sindhu. So Srila Rupa Goswami gives the title for this writing where he's talking about Bhakti Rasa, the aspects of Bhakti Rasa, and he's comparing it to an ocean. Amrita, which means eternal, nectar, unending, and Sindhu means unlimited. So Srila Rupa Goswami is introducing us to a concept which is unlimited, Sindhu, Amrit, Amrita, unlimited means ocean, Sindhu, and which is forever, that is Amrita. So while describing this concept, he divides his books into 4 sections, and he compares his book to an ocean. So like we have the north-south side of the ocean, north side, south side, east side, west side. Like this, table of contents have been described, which has 4 sides, which means 4 chapters or 4 sections. And like each side of an ocean is accompanied by waves. Similarly, the first side, which we're going to read, which is part 1, has 4 waves. What are the 4 waves? First is the general description of bhakti. That will be chapter 1. After this, we'll have description about sadhana bhakti. That will be from chapter 2 up to chapter number 14, up to chapter number 16. That is a description of sadhana bhakti, which include Vaidhi sadhana and Raganuga. Then the third wave is bhava bhakti, which is chapter number 17 and 18. And the fourth wave is 19th chapter, that is called as Prema Bhakti. You got to have a copy of Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu in your hand, and if in case you can have a pen handy or pencil, you can write down things. So that's how this book has been divided. After table of contents, if you see, Prabhupada writes preface. For any book, there are different things that can be included in the beginning. You can have preface, you can have forward, and then also have what we call as prologue, and of course introduction. What is prologue? How many of you have read Journey Home? So Journey Home book has a prologue. Not any of Prabhupada books will have prologue. Prologues is often used for either for autobiography or for a novel. What is a prologue? Prologue is a synopsis of one of the episodes of your life which you have defined in the book, which is adventurous, very exciting, and you introduce right in the beginning to invoke an interest. That is called as prologue. Just like in Journey Home, we see about Richard Slervin going to the Shiva temple in Kathmandu, if you remember like that. So I don't think so any of Prabhupada books have prologue. The Prabhupada books would generally have forward, preface, and an introduction. What is a forward? Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu does not have a forward. Which book of Srila Prabhupada has a forward? One of the very famous book has a forward, written by a very, very famous personality. Krishna book, and the forward was written by George Harrison. So what is a forward? Forward act as just like, all of you are aware of, our classes. So imagine you're hosting somebody and somebody comes who is himself a noted person and he introduces the speaker as well as the topic. So he'll speak few words about the speaker and he'll speak few words about the topic so that the audience become familiar about what's going to happen. That is called as forward. So Krishna book has forward. I don't think so any other book has forward. There were 2 forwards were written for Srila Prabhupada books. One was by George Harrison for Krishna book, and another forward, if I'm correct, was written for Bhagavad Gita by Allen Ginsberg, who was a very, very famous yet controversial author and a poet of 1960s. But when it was, when the hard print of Bhagavad Gita came, or else when BBT started to publish, That time forward was taken out of the book. That time Prabhupada thought probably is not in good interest to introduce Bhagavad Gita by such a controversial author, so that's the time forward was removed. That was either Bhagavad Gita or Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, either of the place I don't remember, but yeah. So in this book, we don't have a forward. It begins with a preface. What is a preface? It's a homework for all of you. All of you have read Bhagavad Gita. Please go and read out Bhagavad Gita's preface and maybe share on the group 3 or 4 key points what a preface talks about. You have Upadeshamrita. Upadeshamrita also had a preface. Does anyone remember what preface says? Yeah, you remember one thing. The success in Krishna consciousness depends on the attitude of the follower. So you remember the statement in the preface. So what is a preface? This preface that Prabhupada have written here for Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu is very different. Again, it's not even introduction. What does preface stand for? Preface is different than introduction. That's the point here. So here in Nectar Devotion, so you're going to go back to Bhagavad Gita and figure it out what is the preface talk about. For for Upadeshamrita preface, Prabhupada introduces again Srila Rupa Goswami in one paragraph, and then he talks about the importance of the book. And then he talks about how, the attitude, this book defines the attitude like that Prabhupada speaks. Go back and see what was the preface, what was the main subject matter of preface. However, the preface of Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu is very different. In the preface of Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Srila Prabhupada talks mainly of 2 things. First thing that Prabhupada discusses in preface is about the life of Srila Rupa Goswami, his renunciation, meeting with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, sitting down with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu with the Shashwamedh Ghat at Prayagraj for 10 days, and the instructions given by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to Srila Rupa Goswami. So a brief is given, and how Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself inspired Rupa Goswami to write this book titled as Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. That's one part of preface. Through preface, Srila Prabhupada is introducing the author, because introduction doesn't include information about author. Introduction is for the book. Preface is where Prabhupada introduces author, similarly in Upadeshamrita and here. So then you figure out what is a preface of Bhagavad Gita, okay? Homework. What would you write as a preface? The 5 subject matter comes in introduction. The introduction covers the whole philosophy of Bhagavad Gita. That's the reason it's a huge introduction. Huge introduction. It includes the conversation between Sanatana Goswami, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Who am I? That is introduction. Preface doesn't talk about the 5 subject matters. Now coming back to Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, giving a quick overview and then we'll get into it. What does preface talk about? Introducing Srila Rupa Goswami to us, who is the author, and why did he compose Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Second thing, Prabhupada delves onto the title. What does this title means? Bhakti Rasa Amrita Sindhu. And then he compares Bhakti Rasa with mundane Rasa. And he establishes how Bhakti Rasa is superior, is the highest, and how through our acharyas we have received the privilege and access to unlimited and eternal nectar, juice, that is called as Bhakti Rasa. So this is what is the subject matter established in preface. Then we move to introduction. Today, with the given time, of course, it's my mistake. I'm going to start on time. I thought we'll cover some part of chapter 1 also. One way is good because I was a little thinking, how should I start and stop in between? So it's good. We get to cover preface introduction. Today, we'll cover preface introduction. Let's move forward to introduction. What does introduction talks about? Now, introduction is very unique. This introduction is not like introduction to the book. Introduction begins with the first verse of Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. In introduction, Prabhupada covers first 14 or 15 verses of Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. And Prabhupada have just presented that those verses in a summary format. So there are 3 things introduction covers. These are things you might want to write it down. You will not remember any of these things. I'll try to break it for all of you when we discuss that. Otherwise, it's a very complex subject matter because it's given in summary format. You really can't capture everything. So the 3 things that introduction covers, or Prabhupada covers. So this is not how Rupa Goswami have written. Rupa Goswami have written through verses wise. But now it has been put into a structure, in a particular structure, by Srila Prabhupada for understanding. And he's taken the first 14 or 15 or 16 verses as introduction, where 3 things have been highlighted. First thing is Manglacharan. Any book Any spiritual activity, we begin Mangalacharan. We recited Mangalacharan together. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnana Jana Shalakya, like that. Similarly, every author would write a Mangalacharan. Mangalacharan means invoking auspiciousness. What it is, we'll talk about it. There are 6 verses dedicated for Mangalacharan. After talking about Mangalacharan, then Srila Rupa Goswami himself describes the contents of Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. So flip onto this page. The contents which you see in Nectar of Devotion, it is itself given by Rupa Goswami. He defines how this book is divided into 4 directions of ocean, and there are waves, and like this, it is itself given by Srila Rupa Goswami. And then the last subject matter of introduction is the definition of pure devotional service, which is an astounding definition. I come from a scientific research background where we used to write papers, and there are certain guidelines to follow for that paper to be accepted in international journals and for it to be critiqued, etc., etc. And based on my research background and scientific background, when I looked into the definition of pure devotional service as defined by Srila Rupa Goswami, I was bowled entirely. How can somebody be so intelligent? And generally, when we talk about scriptures, we think it is more of sentiments, but they're highly intellectual, incredibly presented. Just like we were talking about Srila Prabhupada's contribution. So here, Srila Rupa Goswami, again, just a little bit help us connect with Srila Rupa Goswami. Srila Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wanted Srila Rupa Goswami to establish bhakti to be the highest. And he asked Srila Rupa Goswami to write books. Write books not what you think, but on the strength of the scriptures, and justify and prove it how bhakti is the highest. Which means every quotation you make, you gonna prove it or support it by numerous Vedic references. There was no Veda verse. Now, we may not remember the whole verse, we may remember the one word of the verse. Quickly go and we search and we figure it out. We may not remember the Sanskrit, we may remember the translation of it, we may quickly go and figure it out. Imagine when Rupa Goswami was writing, he only had 3 Bach manuscripts. Even forget that. Let's give a consideration. Imagine they had the books. How would you search? On what basis? There was no bibliography that time. This all has been added later on. You have vast scriptures. When you're going to read Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, you're going to come across the names of scriptures that you would have never heard also. In all this, all of our reading of Prabhupada books, so many. Just to prove that how Bhakti is greater than Karma and Jnana, Prabhupada gives one, Prabhupada makes a chapter out of it. And there are more than 60 or 70 references from n number of scriptures Srila Rupa Goswami is quoting. And the beauty to it is, Srila Rupa Goswami quotes fantastic. Srila Prabhupada adds more to it. Srila Prabhupada adds more to it. And how Srila Prabhupada adds more to it? At some nights, he is doing translation and suddenly he is inspired and he remembers, oh, this means more over here. And therefore, to study this, it becomes a little difficult to really break the concepts, because when you're going through with Prabhupada's presentation here, is very much integrated with the verses and however with also his purpose. So Prabhupada's purpose and translation are combined together. Imagine you pick up a Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavad Gita starts with chapter 1 without verses, without transliteration, without and you have only one thing, and it is not like verse 1, verse 2. You have translation and purport all together going as one chapter. Now imagine, would you understand anything? Even when we have separate verses, we don't understand what is the connection of previous verse with this verse. And what is the connection of this verse with the next verse. Now you don't even have verse 1, verse 2, verse 3. It is like chapter 1 summary study. Translation, purport together, and first chapter like this. Kuch samajh nahi aayega. Like that, it becomes a little tricky. But yeah, it's an amazing presentation here. So these are, what are the 3 things that introduction page? You will come back to it in case you missed it. I'll mention it again when we go to introduction like this. So this is about a little bit of subject matter that we gonna, consider. So this is a scholarly presentation. This is the best presentation, best scholarly presentation of work that could have been written by our acharyas, and Srila Prabhupada called it as a law book of ISKCON. Let's quickly take through the presentation. If I have some key additional points, we'll take a look at it. We have a presentation now. Okay, I'll quickly run through. So my presentation in the beginning might have some of the history of Srila Rupa Goswami in connection. I'll be skipping through it. They wrote many books like this, Importance of Goswami Literatures. This is from Lala Sai Mai Pratana by Srila Narottam Thakur. Rupa Raghunath Pade Hai Veyakuti Kabhama Bujamase Yugala Priti. When I'm eager to understand the literature given by the Goswami, then I shall be able to understand the transcendental living affairs of Shri Radha and Krishna. Entering the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. O Shri Rupa Goswami, all this we have discussed already in Nectar of Instructions. So I'm just skipping this introductory part about Rupa Goswami, how we are Rupanugas, how Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu inspired Rupa Goswami to write. We say Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam means the one who has understood the heart of Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Like this, in Parampara, we received the writings and the subject matter. Then it is a discussion about who is Rupa Goswami in his eternal Leela, Rupa Manjari, and there's the details of other acharyas and their connection. So before creation, we had Srila Vyas Dev composing and giving us literatures. Similarly, just like Tene Brahmadhi Adi Kavya, Lord Vishnu revealed knowledge to Brahma in his heart. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam. Similarly, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu revealed it in the heart of Srila Rupa Goswami. That's the point here. There is a connection between Srila Prabhupada and Srila Rupa Goswami. I hope nobody will be upset here because I'm skipping it fast, because this is just a repeat discussion. We have done it already. We all remember that from Nectar of Instruction? So we have done that. I hope nobody is here. Hey, 2023 batch also have done it, right? You've done it. Nectar of Instruction. Correct. You've done it. So fine. So we all know of this part. Okay. Now this is the point which I wanted to mention. Srila Prabhupada called Nectar of Devotion as law book of ISKCON. Prabhupada says, our whole movement is founded on Bhakti Yoga. If Bhakti is not presented scientifically, then anyone can claim to be a pure devotee and masses will be cheated. Nectar of Devotion teaches us what is real Bhakti. With this, we can know who has real Bhakti and are they fit to be associated. All right, so this is our little introduction to the subject matter. Let's begin with preface. I believe in the presentation I may have a whole Sadhu Goswami Ashtakam. So I'll just pause this presentation, open another one. So Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, this is what we have discussed. Now let's come to the subject matter of preface. Bhakti Rasa Amrita Sindhu. Bhakti means devotion, Rasa means mellow or relationship, and Amrita means nectar or eternal. These are different meanings. Sindhu means ocean. This is what nectar of devotion means. In other words, we'll go back to Preface and we'll read a few points from there. Prabhupada says, even in this material world, for you to struggle and work hard, just to make some earning, there is some rasa. Otherwise, you cannot struggle. So rasa is in everything which inspires us to function. Similarly, bhakti means relationships. And that relationships are governed by rasa. So one of the key subject matter of Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu is to introduce us to 12 different rasas in which we can relate with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, of which there are 5 primary rasas and 7 secondary rasas. 5 primary rasas are Shantaras, Dasyaras, Sakhyaras, Vasaliras, and Madhuriras. And then there are 7 secondary rasas. Nectar Devotion Lecture, Bombay, 10th January 1973, Prabhupada said that Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu is a Sanskrit word. We have shortcut the translation, the Nectar of Devotion. Rupa Goswami's purpose is to present the ocean of Bhakti Rasa. Rasa means mellow. The juice, it is just like ocean. This ocean has limitation, but that Bhakti Rasa ocean is unlimited. Hare Krishna. I will be sharing a soft copy of this book titled as Waves of Devotion. Uh, it might help you. This is a very, very helpful book because it for many of this discussion, it breaks down the discussion in sections. Prabhupada have given as a summary. So you may not even be able to capture when the idea changes from one paragraph to another paragraph, unless you are a very attentive reader. So here, Waves of Devotion book really helps you moving from one concept to another concept. This book becomes more helpful if in case, if I, this time I couldn't do it, next time onwards, just to let you know, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, for we to really capture this, you might have to study it regularly. You cannot pick it up later on and understand it. It's the highly advanced subject matter with a lot of philosophical subject matter brought in here. So best way would be you can read the sections which will announce, will be covered in the next class through this book. And then here to the discussion, maybe you have a question asked, and then go back and open proper book and read. Then you'll be able to capture the concepts here. Otherwise, if you just read it, you will say fencastic, very nice, but it will not connect or resonate with us. So I'll share the soft copy. I was wanting to send it yesterday, but I was caught up in few things. I'll send it today after the session, and then we can have this kind of a protocol like this. All right, moving forward. Prabhupada, another lecture, 28th October 1972, writes or says, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu compared bhakti to a great ocean. When he was speaking before Rupa Goswami, he said that it is just like an ocean. So I will take a drop of it. You taste it, and you will understand what is this ocean. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu described a small portion of Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Bhakti devotional service, that is rasa, taste, and that taste is Amrit or eternal. Srila Prabhupada explains that in Preface. Rasa means every service has some attractive feature which drives the servitor progressively on and on. Everything. Some, otherwise we cannot function, we cannot act. That force which drives the philanthropist, the householder, the nationalist is called rasa, or a kind of mellow whose taste is very sweet. Now please come to the preface. I'm going to start from very foundations here. So what we're going to do, just unless we break this thing, we'll not be able to get it. I'm going to give you titles for every paragraph. And I'll request come in this program with a book, so you write down things for yourself. Okay. So preface has 12 paragraphs. And just a tip on studying Srila Prabhupada books, this could be for any book in general, but reading Prabhupada book, the best way to study this, read a paragraph and find out what is a key message. And write down that key message on the top of the paragraph, which means you're giving a title to every paragraph. Now imagine you have read 10 paragraphs, and now you go back and quickly read through the titles. Would you remember everything? Yes or no? So I am opening the book right in front of you, just like you might have opened a new book. I'm opening it now also. But for me, it's not going to be a big challenge what this preface says, because I have written title for every paragraph. So I don't need to pick a book beforehand the class and review it, because I know that I have the titles written. The moment I read the title, I know what is the subject matter of. So that's how you can say, because I had been running around, some of you know about the temple project which is coming up. I was too much in meetings. I had a program today morning also. So I just came here, took a small nap. Otherwise, I would have really slept during the class. I couldn't sleep last night. I came here, and I'm also opening a book along with you. Okay? So don't be frightened that I have not prepared my class. That's not the point. But now let's take a look at it. So first 4 paragraphs speaks about the life of Srila Rupa Goswami. The first paragraph, if you want to give a title, talks about upbringing, family, and job. This is how the first paragraph, which we have already discussed. I'm just familiarizing with you so that this is how you can start reading and studying for yourself. Second paragraph talks about principles of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's teachings. The third paragraph talks about meeting of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and the brothers. Particularly, this is not the meeting at Ramakeli. This meeting is particularly of meeting with Rupa Goswami at Prayagraj. Let me ask a question to you. When Jiva Goswami, who was the nephew for Rupa and Sanatan Goswami, when he came to Vrindavan, he wanted to take initiation from Sanatan Goswami. But Sanatan Goswami sent him to Srila Rupa Goswami. Sanatan Goswami considered Rupa Goswami to be senior. However, Rupa Goswami always worshipped Sanatan Goswami to be his senior. By age, Sanatan Goswami was senior. And Rupa Sanatan, in terms of bhakti, I don't know, there's no difference mentioned anywhere. So how can I mention any difference? They both are eternal associates of the Lord. You know, to Rupa Goswami, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave 10 days. To Sanatan Goswami, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave 2 months. So my question is, Jiva Goswami wanted to take initiation from Sanatan Goswami. Sanatan Goswami said, no, you go and take initiation from the senior most person, that is Rupa Goswami. Why did Sanatan Goswami consider Rupa Goswami to be senior? The only reason is because Rupa Goswami renounced before Sanatan Goswami. That's the only reason. So who renounced before? Rupa Goswami. So who renounced before? Rupa Goswami renounced before. Along with the brother, and then Sanatan Goswami renounced later on. That's the reason Sanatan Goswami always considered Rupa Goswami to be his senior like this. That's a point which is mentioned how Rupa Goswami renounced. Third paragraph talks about meeting with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, then distribution of wealth and escape. Fourth paragraph talks about meeting of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu with Rupa Goswami at Prayagraj. And the fifth paragraph talks about writing of scriptures. How Sri Chaitanya, how Rupa Goswami was instructed by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to write, and how did they wrote? Nana Shastra Vichara Naika Nipino Sadharma Samsapako. Next time we'll maybe look at the meaning of this a little bit. So Nana Shastra Vichara Naika, they studied various scriptures, contemplated on it, and gave us the essence. That's how this particular Sat Goswami Ashtakam has been composed about the life of the 6 Goswamis. This is about the first five paragraphs of Preface. Is that okay? So it's a brief history. Now let's go to the last 7 paragraphs of the Preface. From 6th paragraph, discussion begins about Rasa. Okay, so maybe I can just give you a title, then we'll take a look at it. So 6th paragraph talks about Bhakti, Rasa, and also Mundane Rasa. That is the 6th paragraph, okay? All right, we'll not go into this paragraph, let's take a look at it. So Bhakti Rasa, we already described here, or maybe something we can read out. Yeah, we already read the first, which drives the philanthropist like this. Now, what is mundane rasa? This is Bhakti rasa, okay? Please look at the presentation. So, Prabhupada in this paragraph, in the preface, describe, after defining Bhakti rasa, he defines mundane rasa. Just like in any activity in our mundane livelihood or maintenance, also involves some rasa. Otherwise, without it cannot work. There is a struggle. But that rasa keeps us forgetting about that struggle. We keep on doing the same thing again and again. Why? Because there is some pleasure we get it. But what is the nature of mundane rasa is what Prabhupada defines. The 2 qualities of mundane rasa. First is chapala sukh. I'm giving a summary of what Prabhupada is in the paragraph. What is chapala sukh? Chapala means temporary. The relish or taste of the mundane rasa does not long endure. That is called as chapala sukh, fleeting happiness. I don't know, but did you remember if in case you ever chewed a bubble gum? How many of you remember chewing a bubble gum in your childhood? Now, when you take a first bite of the bubble gum, it tastes so nectarian. And when you've chewed it 10, 12 times, and every juice is gone, and your jaws begin to pain. You're trying to squeeze out the last ounces or iota of juice out of it, and nothing. It's just making sound. Nothing. That is what my chapala sukh. There is no pleasure. It feels like a pleasure, and even if it is not long lasting. That is Madan Sundar. And Prabhupada gives an example, beautiful examples in his discussion. He talked about just like let's talk about another nature, then we talk about the example. Prabhupada says, and the other nature of mundane rasa is bhoga tyaga, the position of alternating sense enjoyment and renunciation. Bhoga is to accept, enjoy. Tyaga is to give up. And Prabhupada gives a classic example. Monday to Friday, we work. Saturday, Sunday, we renounce. And then Monday, again we go to work. Bhoga tyaga, we keep on oscillating between this. You cannot be any situation. Imagine if you're given an opportunity to be on vacation with your family, then also you will renounce because there will be too much association of family. And if you decided, okay, now you work non-stop, again you will not be happy. In other words, if you're given an opportunity to be on vacation forever, you'll be frustrated after a while. If you are given an opportunity to work all the time, again you'll be frustrated. That is what it means by bhoga tyaga. Prabhupada writes in the preface, a businessman is not satisfied with working all week. Therefore, wanting to change for the weekend, he goes to a place where he tries to forget his business activities. Then after the weekend is spent in forgetfulness, again changes position and resumes his actual business activity. This is called as bhoga tyaga. Prabhupada gives an example for chapala sukh in the preface. An ordinary family man who works very hard day and night and is successful in giving comforts to the members of his family, thereby relishes a kind of mallow. But his whole advancement of material happiness immediately terminates with his body as soon as life is over. So chapala sukh means temporary. Even if somebody argued, no, my senses are not going to get frustrated, my senses are not going to get tired, the object which is giving me pleasure is not going to become boring for me. But the problem is, maybe your object may continue to give you happiness, your senses may not become tired, but at the end of the day, you have to die. That you cannot change. Because you're going to die, then it becomes temporary. And the contrast, Srila Rupa Goswami says, Bhakti Ras is Amrita. It's not Chapala Sukha. It's forever. It's in fact ever increasing. So whatever one has done in his one lifetime, next lifetime he begins from there. So anything that you've done is never lost. That is the opposite of Chapala Sukha. That is Amrita. And then Bhoga Tyaga. Bhoga Tyaga means today I want, today I give up. Bhakti Ras is Sindhu, unlimited. There is no end to it. Once you dive into it, it just keeps on increasing. Like that, Srila Prabhupada compares the subject matter of Bhakti Ras with mundane rasa. Paragraph number 7 of the preface, reading the paragraph number 7, first few lines. Bhakti Rasa, however, the mellow relished. Are you able to see on the book? You got to follow through, otherwise you're going to lose it after a while. Bhakti Rasa, however, the mellow relish in the transcendental loving service of the Lord does not finish with the end of life. So what you can do now, you can just take your book and in front of each paragraph write 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then in an empty page like this, you can write on the summary of the summary. P1 paragraph 1 means this is the title because there's no space to write much here. So you can organize your notes like this. I hope everyone's going to see. Camera mein dikh raha hai? So like this, you can organize your notes. It will help you to study this book. So paragraph number 7 in my book. Bhakti Rasa, however, the mellow relish in the transcendental loving service of the Lord does not finish with the end of life. It continues perpetually. Is therefore called Amrita, that which does not die but exists eternally. This is confirmed in all Vedic literatures. Therefore, All bona fide activities in Krishna consciousness are Amrit or permanent. This is the subject matter of the nectar of devotion. This is the last line of paragraph number 7. The first line of paragraph 8. Eternal engagement in Bhakti Rasa can be understood by a serious student upon studying nectar of devotion. Adoption of Bhakti Rasa or Krishna consciousness will immediately bring one to an auspicious life free from anxieties and will bless one with transcendental existence, thus minimizing the value of liberation. This is the subject matter of the first chapter of Nectar Devotion, which is titled as Generic Symptoms of Bhakti. We will discuss that. Bhakti Rasa itself is sufficient to produce a feeling of liberation. So Prabhupada is talking about this. This subject matter will be discussed later on also. And then Prabhupada talks about the main subject matter of this book is 12 rasas, like this. Now here these 9, 10, 11 paragraphs, extremely beautiful paragraph. Do you know there is a small book by the name of Bhakti? Please read it. If in case you've ever wondered what love is, if you've ever longed for love, please read that book. That's one of my favorite books. I don't know if it even comes in print. I read it in America. I have always wondered, as a young man, what love is, and with whom this loving relationship has to happen. It's such a beautiful, it's a synopsis from selected lectures of Prabhupada that he gave in Vrindavan on Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. From there, they've taken a certain section, and that book just talks about love, what love is. Some of it is briefly discussed here. Please do read that book, Bhakti book, if in case it's still in publication. Paragraph number 9, from there, I'm reading it. Is that okay? Everyone is on the same page? The basic principle of the living condition is that we have a general propensity to love someone. No one can live without loving someone else. This propensity is present in every living being. Even an animal like a tiger has this loving propensity, at least in a dormant stage, and it is certainly present in the human beings. The missing point, however, is where to repose our love so that everyone can become happy. At the present moment, the human society teaches one to love his country, that is nationalism, or family, or his personal self. But there is no information where to repose a loving propensity so that everyone can become happy. That missing point is Krishna. And the nectar of devotion teaches us how to stimulate our original love for Krishna, how to be situated in that position where we can enjoy our blissful life. The paragraph 9 talks about the missing link, love for Krishna. Good enough title? Do you all agree with that? Okay. Paragraph number 10. I'll read it again, I'll read it further, and let's see what could be the title. In the primary stage, a child loves his parents, then his brothers, sisters, and as he daily grows up, he begins to love his family, society, community, country, nation, or even the whole human society. But the loving propensity is not satisfied, even by loving all human society. Yes or no? Yes or no? Because still you'll find people, despite they becoming philanthropists, then they become some, animal rights activists. Just by loving all humans would not still satisfy our heart. Why? Then what about animals? If in case there was no love to be given to animals, why do we have people who become animal rights activists? So just loving all human beings is not enough also. That loving propensity remains imperfectly fulfilled until we know who is the supreme beloved. Our love can be fully satisfied only when it is reposed in Krishna. This theme is the sum and substance of the nectar of devotion, which teaches us how to love Krishna in 5 different transcendental mellows. So, if I give a title for this paragraph, The Unfulfilled Love, does it justify? It does not necessarily has to be this title. It could be another title also. But I'm just saying, you can think of, but it has to be short. So why? So here, one thing that you will see through this book, Srila Rupa Goswami is very exclusive. He is not inclusive. He begins his Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu with Akhil Rasamrita Murti. He describes what is the subject matter of Bhagavad Gita, about subject matter of Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Akhil Rasa Amrita Murti, which refers to Lord Shri Krishna, and then the whole verse goes on. So Akhil Rasa Amrita Murti. So he describes Lord Shri Krishna as Ras Amrita Murti. He is the Murtiman, epitome of all rasas. Which means if you want anything, any kind of relationship, where alone you can get fulfillment, only through Krishna, no other. Somebody may say, why you're so exclusive? You should be inclusive. थोड़ा दूसरों को भी प्रेम बांटो, दूसरों को भी लेकर आओ. उसका क्या होगा? The reason is by loving Krishna, we love every part and parcel. Therefore, same Krishna in Bhagavad Gita says, Vidya Vinaya Sampane, Brahmini Gaviyasani, Sunichaya Vasapakecha, Pandita Samadashina. This verse has more deeper meaning than what we just generally say. A learned person means he does not discriminate. The point here is the principles of Bhagavad Gita teaches us harmony and love across the species, not only within the species. Today we are fighting about women rights, rights of the black, etc. But principles of Bhagavad Gita teaches us about how we can live in harmony across the species. So that's what is mentioned here. And the purport continues, or the purport preface continues. This is what you can read it for yourself. Let's go back to the presentation here quickly. So we saw preface, Amrita definition we saw. That is Amrit, action performed. Is called, action performed. And realized performance. This is about preface. So we go to introduction. So before we go to introduction, so this is a subject matter, Bhakti Rasa Amrita Sindhu. Please do read the remaining parts of the preface. Prabhupada continues like this. Maybe I can just read the 12th paragraph also. Very beautiful. The 12th paragraph. This is the second last paragraph in your preface that will help you to find it. As far as material necessities are concerned, the human civilization at the present moment is very much advanced in living comfortably, but still we are not happy because we are missing the point. The material comforts of life alone are not sufficient to make us happy. The good example is America, the richest nation of the world, having all facilities for material comfort, is producing a class of men completely confused and frustrated in life. I appeal herewith to such confused men to learn the art of devotional service as directed in the Nectar of Devotion. And I'm sure that the fire of material existence burning within their hearts will be immediately extinguished. The root cause, very important point, of our dissatisfaction is that our dormant loving propensity has not been fulfilled despite our great advancement in the materialistic way of life. Nectar devotion will give us practical hints how we can live in this material world perfectly engaged in devotional service and thus fulfill all our desires in this life and the next. The Nectar devotion is not presented to condemn any way of materialistic life, but the attempt is to give information to religionists, philosophers, and people in general how to love Krishna. One may live without material discomfiture, but at the same time we should learn the art of loving Krishna. At the present moment, we are inventing so many ways to utilize our propensity to love, but factually we are missing the real point, Krishna. Few lines below, important. Real self-realization, realization of Krishna go together simultaneously. One of my favorite examples I often quote. For example, seeing oneself in the morning means seeing the sunrise also. Without seeing the sunshine, no one can see himself. To say I am self-realized, it is not possible unless you realize Krishna. Last paragraph. For whom this nectar devotion has been written, Prabhupada writes and concludes the preface. The nectar devotion is specifically presented for persons who are now engaged in the Krishna consciousness movement. So, we were talking about the 4 books in Bhakti Shastri. Isha Upanishad is all pervasive, everyone can read it. Bhagavad Gita is also read by all. They have a different meanings, interpretations to it, that's a different thing. Then from all becomes a little exclusive to Bhakti movement, which is Upadeshamrita. Still, the instructions we give an introduction, or each verse have been taken up from different references. The general instructions for sadhaka. But when Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu comes, it is exclusively for whom? For those who are engaged in the Krishna consciousness movement. When it was about Bhagavad Gita, Prabhupada writes in the introduction, Bhagavad Gita is meant for those who are devotees of Krishna. But they can be in any parampara. But here we are engaged in the Krishna consciousness movement, Brahma Madhava Gaudiya Parampara. I beg to offer my sincere thanks. Prabhupada begins to thank all those devotees who helped. Particularly, Prabhupada writes, the contribution made by my beloved disciple Sriman Jayananda Brahmacharya, Jayananda Prabhu ki. Thanks to you as well as to the actors. Those of you don't know the story, it was Jayananda Prabhu who gave us around $5,000, I believe, which he has saved for his treatment. He was going for a treatment for a while. Health wasn't improving. So he had a choice. Give one more try or accept the fate and use that money to give it to Prabhupada for printing Nectar Devotion. He chose the second. He thought, anyways, I'm going under so much treatment, nothing is happening. So he chose to give all that savings that he had, which he could have utilized for his treatment, gave that money to Srila Prabhupada for printing Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, and he wholeheartedly accepted his conclusion. Means he passed away. Like that. That's how he comes over there with Jayanand Prabhu or Jayanand Brahmachari. So this preface was written in 13th April 1970. Hare Krishna. Any clarification so far? With a little bit introduction to this Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu and preface talking about 2 main subject matter, the brief history of Srila Rupa Goswami's life, and second thing is definition of Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, what does this word means, and of course the third thing is aim of nectar of devotion. Next.